Meltdown presents The Disney Click with Rick and Briers. This podcast is sponsored by Meltdown Comics and Collectibles in Hollywood, California. Find Meltdown on meltcomics.com. The Disney Click is also sponsored by comicsfix.com. Comicsfix.com, your online subscription comic book service. Hello, and welcome to The Disney Click with your hosts, Briers
and Rick. Today, we have a very special guest, Brian Bradley. We are so honored to have you here.
I'm honored to be here, Rick.
Well,
welcome.
Giddy as a schoolgirl.
I'm happy for that. Let me tell you a little bit about Brian. He is an amazing writer, producer, actor, and gentleman, the quadruple threat.
Mm-hmm.
He has been a writer on shows such as MadTV, Scrubs, Happy Endings, and soon to be Uncle Buck.
Yep.
Coming this mid-season to ABC.
Woohoo!
It's a big deal, and we're really excited to see what you got for that. We'll talk a little bit later about that.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Okay.
More importantly, he has been a regular cast member in the Disney parks. Epcot, Disneyland, and California Adventure, and as well as Universal. And he's going to tell us some stories, some dirt.
I'm gonna tell some tales.
Okay,
it's gonna get real dishy in here. Disney Dish.
All right.
Yes.
There's a new title for the program.
Scrap our old title.
It took too long to get here.
Interviews.
So why don't we start there?
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about. I want to know your experience. What did you do as far as what roles did you play when at the Disney parks?
Well, I graduated from the University of Florida in 1994, which is in Gainesville, Florida, and I moved to Orlando, where my then girlfriend was living, and I got a job as an actor right away. This my first equity show. And but that paid nothing, as you can imagine. And while I had been in town probably about, I don't know, a little under a year, this woman, the beautiful woman, Christine Decker, former longtime Disney performer at Comedy Warehouse, the Adventures Club, and stuff like that. She's like, "Oh, you're kind of funny. This guy I know from, is hiring. He's a show director for this show at Disney." I'm like, I don't want to be Mickey Mouse. I don't want to dress up in a costume. I'm not there yet.
You were too good for the mouse at that
Oh,
point,
yes. And plus,
okay.
it's just hot. It's just a hot place. I can't. She goes, no. This is like a cool, an improv show, kind of. And anyway, I'm going to tell him about you. So I auditioned for the show director of something called the World Showcase Players, which just recently closed after, I don't know how long the players were there. But it just recently closed, but it was at Epcot Center in the World Showcase. And they were these Renaissance-style trunk shows. So there were three of us. We would come out with a wagon full of props and costumes. We'd busk a crowd, and they would all kind of come in and sit down. On the bricks of the England section of the World Showcase Players, and we would do these funny little plays that were audience interactive. So we'd bring someone up out of the audience to play the roles. So they had names like Romeo and Edna, and King Arthur and the Holy Grail, and we would make somebody King Arthur and somebody would be Edna, and and whatever it was, and we would do these 20-minute. Renaissance-style trunk shows with fake British accents and fake Renaissance puffy pants and shirts, pirate shirts looking things. And that was my first gig at Disney.
Can you tell me a little bit about the culture shock, if there was such a thing, with your first job, that first job at Disney?
Yeah, well, there is a little bit of, because Disney is a big culture. under itself. It's like a little, especially in Florida. It's, in Orlando, it's its own little, literally, I think they can get a bond from the state, like, because they have their own town called Celebration. So they really are their own little world down there. And I just come from like 5 years of studying, Sam Shepard, and I thought I was going to be a playwright. That's what I wanted to do, and I didn't write any. I mean, I'd been in a comedy group in school, but I'd really been writing like pretty serious plays, like really embarrassing one-act plays.
And if there's something I know about you is you're a very serious guy.
No, I am underneath it all. I'm one of those kinds of comedians. I'm kind of like a serious comedian. But so I I don't know. I think there was a little bit of like, this is all goody and for kids, and I won't be doing this long. But it was an equity gig, union gig. It paid incredibly well. I had benefits and all of that stuff. And
so, did you actors write your scenes, or someone was writing them for you?
No. These were all scripted. Well, so they're scripted, but they have sections in them where you go to improvised moments. Right. So they had been created. This is kind of a little thing, but they had been created in Orlando for Disney by a company called SAC Theater, that it involved people like Wayne Brady and stuff like that. Wayne was a part of the company, and a bunch of other great, amazing performers, Joel McCrary and Claire Sarah, Jonathan Mangum, and just really, very, very talented improv people. And they had created these going to Renaissance fairs. So going on the Ren Fair circuit, they had created these trunk shows, and they kind of were hired by Disney to bring them in. And again, I don't want Disney to come after me, but the accusation is that Disney kind of ended up edging out SAC after many years of SAC doing the shows, and then sort of taking them over themselves and co-opting them themselves.
Wait a minute, a big corporation swallowing up the little guy?
They swallowed up their little... They kind of got rid of SAC and started doing it themselves. Yeah, exactly. So so that's how those had been created. And I don't know. They had really... I'm sure they had been changed. It had been going on for years before me. I had seen them as a high school student. I had seen the World Showcase players. And then here I was, 5-6 years later, whatever it was, performing the shows, so they had been around for a long time, since the 80s, I would say, for sure, at least. So yeah, so that's what was my first gig for them. And they also did those trunk shows in France. They had a French company where we would speak in bad French accents. And then they had one in Italy, which was a little bit of a commedia dell'arte kind of a vibe, but still pretty much the same shows. And like we did Cyrano de Bergerac in France, and in Italy, I forget the name of the one that we did in Italy, but it was, yeah. So yeah.
Okay. So I want to know, when you went as this young, impressionable actor into Disney,
well,
was there anything that just was appalling or shocking to you about coming into this, expectations they had for you? Or
yeah, I'll tell you, the first thing I noticed was how woefully underprepared I was. So I'm 22 or something, and there's people I'm performing with in their 40s, who are, extremely talented and experienced actors. The shows were not easy to do. They had a scripted element, but you changed roles every show. So you would be a narrator one time and you play this role. Wow. Yeah, so you sort of rotated the roles. So you had to know all the parts, and then there was all the improv part of it. And that was just, anything could happen when you went and you picked a guest to come up and you brought them up, that anything could happen with the guest and you had to be ready. It was really the first time I had been doing real improvisation. I'd done it some in college with a group I had there, a sketch and improv group. But like I was just learning like every day and failing badly, like often very badly, I just cratering shows. I wasn't not very good at that show, I would say, I would say.
Well, it sounds like it was a good learning experience for you.
It was,
least, right?
Yeah. Well, you learn the hard way. I mean, that's what Disney was great about is, you are really performing 5 shows a day, sometimes 7, 8 days a week if you're really, 8 or 8 days in a row, maybe sometimes even more if you want, and if you could, and you're really grinding out every day in front of hundreds and hundreds of people these shows, so you learn your craft quickly, or you fail.
Was there an aha moment for you? A moment where you thought you got it?
I think I got it when I was let go from there. When I lost that contract, when that contract ended, I was like, oh, aha! I should have been better at that. And
how long was that for? How long were you there for?
I probably worked the World Showcase Players for a couple of years, and then I had sort of what they call a sub. So you're not contracted, but you're working under the contracted people. So you pick up their extra days, or you're subbing in, just what it sounds like. So you don't have any set hours. Though the hours were incredible because it's what they call show value. So at least the terms of the contract then were each show was worth, like, you had to work 8 hours in a day, like a normal job, except they would apply, even though shows were only 20 minutes long, they would apply an hourly rate of 3 or 4 hours or whatever the show value was for hours. So you could do 5 shows and be there like 3.5, 4 hours or something like that. And so, it was like an ideal job if you were trying to, at the same time I'm doing regional theater, I'm trying to become a television actor, in Orlando as best I can. I started a sketch comedy group outside called Discount Comedy Outlet. I'm doing a lot of writing. So the job was like the cream of the crop job you could have in Florida if you were like just trying to get started as an actor or as a writer, because it was in really amazing pay for a fairly flexible hours. It was ideal. They were hard to get. There's a hard gig.
So was acting your first, that was your initial goal? You were a theater major.
Yeah.
That was what you wanted to do, or how did you?
No, I got into entertainment the way many young men do, for girls, mainly. I had a girlfriend in high school, beautiful girl named Sarah Bernardi, who, was that great indie, hippy-dippy theater girl, wispy, little wisp of a thing. And I was captain of the wrestling team. And I'm like, and I also wrote. I was the editor of the literary magazine at school.
You weren't just a jock. You had a sensitive side too.
Yeah, man.
What you're saying.
For real.
Okay.
And Sarah's like, you should take, you have a free period. You're a senior. You should take your, your free period. Your free elective. You should take drama. I'm like, yeah, totally take drama if you're going to be in there and we can kind of make out, which is exactly why I took it. And there was this great teacher, the first truly gay person I've ever met in my life, Michael Coppola. I don't know what happened to Michael. He's an amazing guy. And he really saw me, I think, as a challenge. Like he knew I wrote and he knew I didn't take it seriously. And he challenged me to write a play. And so I did a very... another kind of embarrassing kind of play. But then he began submitting it around. And then this theater company had a scholarship. And they said, well, we'll pay for you to study theater, like study playwriting and theater if you want to. So I had no other, prospects, really. And so so they gave me money to go. So I'm like, oh, I'll study theater. So that's what I did. Yeah. And anyway,
that's very.
It wasn't a lot of money. I mean, but it was, paid some. It was sort of like enough to quiet my parents who were like, "What are you doing?" So yeah. So then I got into acting in college when I went to college. I'm like, oh, that's where all the girls. They really want the actors, not the writers. So and that's so true. And I was like, well, I think I should probably be an actor. So I did. And again, that sounds terrible, but there it is. I'm just being very honest.
I love the truth.
Yeah.
Give us the truth. So I'm curious about some of your things on your resume, your Epcot resume.
Mm-hmm.
One thing in particular, Father Christmas, holidays around the world at Epcot. Well, what's that about?
That's right. So the World Showcase Players was like a group of actors, and they had multiple shows that they did throughout the year. And for instance, I was also in a musical melodrama in Canada, in the Canadian venue, where I played a Mountie. And we sang these songs and did this little comedy show out on the street in Canada. And then this thing called Holidays Around the World, which I believe still, I if I'm not mistaken, is still going on. But I was part of the very first one. And they decided they're going to like spice up Epcot, which was always, kind of hurting a little bit. And they're going to make it kind of a Christmassy venue, and they're going to dress up all of the countries, even ones that don't believe in Jesus, and celebrate Christmas holidays around the world. And because I'm a sort of robust gentleman, read large, thick of girth, they're like, you'll be a perfect Father Christmas. So they made me this amazing wig.
Wait,
so,
were you not flattered when they wanted you to be Father Christmas?
I just wanted work.
Okay.
I just wanted work.
Okay.
And it got my show value, so I was super happy about it. And my wife was happy about it too, my girlfriend at the time. And so yeah, like what I would do is I would come out and like ring a bell, and again, by this time they had figured out that I could sing a little bit, and they're like, oh well, you should be singing these Christmas carols. And so I would sing all these British Christmas carols, and then like kids would come up to me and like tell me what they wanted for Christmas, and I'd wander around. But it was, of course, it's Florida. It's so hot. It's so unbelievably humid. And I was in a beautiful, this thing was a beautiful, if you've ever seen what like sort of traditional British Father Christmas looks like. He's sort of Santa-y. He's a little thinner, but he's got a long coat, and it's fur covered, and it's made of wool. And I've got an unbelievable wig and beard that they've made just for me. And it was whatever the humidity, 80% humidity. And, in the winter, sometimes in Orlando, it can easily be 80, 90 degrees. And anyway, I was the number one Father Christmas. And then I remember they had this gig where they're like, Brian, we need you to come in tomorrow for a special event at 6 a.m. It's a special event. You're going to be playing Father Christmas. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'll be in at 6. So I drive down, I get there, I get in my gig. And then they're like, we need to hook you up with a microphone and a satellite earpiece hookup, because you are on a live satellite uplink with children from around the world. And you're going to be answering their questions about Christmas, British Christmas. And
that's awesome.
In your bad fake British accent. And so I have a video of this, which is my treasured thing, because I am sweating so badly. It is so freaking hot. And I remember there were kids from like New York City, and they're like, what do you do? Do you bring gifts? And as the kids go, I'm Jewish. Do I get gifts? And then I'm looking over like, at my supervisor. He's like, yeah, keep going. Just keep.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I believe all children get gifts, whether they're Jewish or not, or
the rabbis were like cursing you.
Yeah,
like
my parents
Christmas
don't
guy.
believe in God. Do I get gifts? I think so. Yeah, I'd have to check some of the records. Just look in some of the manuals, but I think you get gifts, to my knowledge, which is very thin on the subject. It was
so
like
was this
that.
like the ABC affiliate news? Good Morning America?
No, this would be Disney Education. So Disney has like a bajillion like little groups within the groups. They're like the government. Like they've got a lot of little subgroups. And this was some sort of Disney Education program where they interface with the live entertainment people, and they hooked me. They didn't tell me anything about it. I just got thrown under the bus. But so that was Father Christmas. It was unbelievable.
Great.
After that was all over, what did you do the rest of that day? Because it sounds pretty high pressure situation.
That was my only thing I had to do. I got my full show value, my full day, whatever my call was. I think the minimum call would be 4 hours. So I just did that, and then I went home, and I probably got drunk. If I would know myself at that time, I started an early drinking evening, I would imagine. What we call a 3:00 evening.
Behind the scenes of a Disney
I would
cast
say,
member.
that's right.
Tell your kids
yeah.
that.
That's right.
After work, he's going to go.
Get a little
So
bit
then
of a,
over
get a
here
little
on
tipsy.
the West Coast,
Yeah.
you worked at Disney California Adventure
I did.
when it was newer.
Yeah,
I call it
so.
the dark days. I think we're both curious
It was
about.
just figuring itself out
Yes.
as a theme park.
Yes.
Let's see. I moved here in 2002, and I didn't want to work at any theme park because I'd been working at theme parks since '94, and so nearly a decade.
You can't help yourself. They just
well, the money is good. Yeah, it's just like
They
the
just
mob.
suck you
It's
in.
like the mob.
Once
They
you're
keep pulling
in.
me back in, and we made that joke a lot. But like I finished when we ran through whatever money we had, and it's like I think someone said, hey, they're auditioning at Disneyland for this improv thing. You guys should go down, because a lot of people we knew from Orlando
Is this
were
Duh?
right
Are
here.
you about to hear
Not
about
yet.
Duh?
Duh comes
I
up.
just love the name.
Duh, the
Duh.
Department of Untapped Hilarity.
I don't get
That's-
it.
Which,
I
by the
love
way,
it.
Duh was amazing because it involved Matt Gorley, who from Super Ego podcast, was in Duh and in Soap Opera Bistro, which is what I was first hired into at Disney's California Adventure. Mark McConville from Super Ego podcast, Jeremy Carter from Super Ego, Aaron Hayes, who
I know, I know
from
her,
Children's
yeah.
Hospital, Jeff Davis, who's Dan Harmon's sort of cohort. I think he was just a little before my time. Chris Tallman from the Thundermans, and a million other things. Chris was there.
That's great.
Yeah, it was
Like
like
a
all
talent
those people
gold
were
mine.
there at that time, and we're just out
great.
here working. And then yours truly, and my wife. But so yeah, the first thing I did was something called Soap Opera Bistro, and yeah, Disney's California Adventure was a little sketchy to begin with because it was very like I think Soap Opera Bistro. The concept was they had a restaurant that was like themed on the ABC soap operas.
So General Hospital, you go in and eat on a gurney bed or something like that?
Here's what you did. You had no script. It's completely improvised. You could choose your costume when you come in. You could be a rich businessman. You could be a doctor. You could be they could be a nurse. They could be a sexy. I mean, the women had choices. It was everyone had like 3 costumes you could be, or something. And everyone wanted to do scrubs all the time because it was the most comfortable costume. So I just wanted to be the doctor. And what you would do is the idea was you'd go around from table to table while people are eating their $32 hamburger or whatever it is there.
And worth every
This
penny.
was a sit-down ressrestaurant. And you would improvise soap opera scenes with your other actors and then supposedly drawing in the people who are like, I'm just trying to finish my steak.
Wait, this sounds kind of cool. It sounds hilarious.
Would you like
I
fries
would
with
like
that
to
burger?
know.
Oh.
Is that
I'm going to tell you something, Briers. It
Was
was terrible. First of all, as it turns out, when people are choosing their dining experience at Disney and they see the one that has a soap opera theme, they go, maybe we'll go over to the one that sort of looks like Yosemite instead. Or you know what I mean? I don't know.
This was the last choice for people.
The last. They had no bookings at the place.
Where was it? Where is it located?
It was okay. I haven't been there in a while. I know I think it's what's there now is probably that Cars thing. I think
Okay.
because it was sort of right when you came into the park. And
Straight back.
yeah, like it was near the Hollywood section. The
feel like it
Hollywood
was
so
a
that's
Hollywood
gonna be
section.
like take a left.
Yeah, it was like near
where they
that.
have the Mad Tea Party
Yeah,
and all that. Right
and it was
Okay.
sort of in a corner too, which is sort of like there was never anybody
Oh
there.
yeah, where the
That-
Mad
there was
Tea
never-
Party
What it is,
is.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no. How do you have no foot traffic at a Disney park? But like it would be just
Yeah.
seriously,
Soap Opera Cafe. They have
soap
our
opera,
answer.
So
soap opera
funny.
bistro.
Bistro.
And then,
Bistro.
duh,
Sorry.
the Department of
Classy.
Untapped Hilarity was like,
Oh,
but
duh.
we're gonna close down the bistro,
Oh.
but like we don't want to lose these improvising
This
actors
talent.
because they're super talented. So they created Duh, which moved over kind of where the Condor Flats area is. That was themed vaguely on aerospace in California, and we had
Okay.
jumpsuits. Always a good look on a large man. And we did, street improv, like just improv games, like straight up improv games like you'd see at Comedy Sports or, like what we call short form games or hoop games or,
But do you think it's harder with an audience at a theme park when you're getting
The worst.
different age? Yeah, you've got parents that are bitter kids. Or...
When you're just doing when you're doing a walk around character at a park, I've done that before. At Universal, I did many walk around acting roles. I was a Man in Black. I was a Ghostbuster. I
could see you as a Ghostbuster.
Totally as a Ghostbuster. And those are jobs where you're just kind of you're forcing interactions, really, or you're with guests. I mean, they want to take pictures with you, or they want to have you. You have bits you do with them.
Like Cruella DeVille scared your child.
Yes,
she
and made him cry like that.
I think she's a face character, but which is another. Again, there are levels.
Right.
There's the costume characters, which is anybody with a rubber head. And then there's like the face characters, which is like anybody whose face you can see, like a Disney princess, the princesses and that kind of stuff.
Is that considered above
yes.
your head?
Oh, yes,
hidden?
yes. Well, the face characters in the character department are the cool,
elite.
the elite kids.
Okay.
And it's usually mostly like really pretty girls.
And
so the girls that have to dress up as Minnie Mouse are like, and they put their hats on and, meanwhile the girl's like, oh my God, is my wig straight? Is it straight? It is. Oh, I'm sorry.
I hear
Minnie Mouse are using the mirror because you don't need it because you don't have any. Your hair doesn't show.
So there's animosity there.
There's animated-mosity there,
Oh.
and then the next level is like the actors.
Oh.
So that's usually a union gig, and those are people that are in shows, or say at Disneyland, it might be the Jedi trainer, Jedi Academy. Or what's another thing they got? I don't know what they have down there now.
Aladdin.
Aladdin would probably be a face character.
No, the Aladdin
but
stage
in the
show.
In the stage show, they're actors.
Okay.
They have that show coming down Buena Vista Street with like the
Five and Dime,
the boys
or
and
the
the
Newsies
newspapers.
boys.
Yeah, the
Newspaper
Newsies.
boys. Okay.
There
that
you
might
go.
be, yeah.
See, dancers, that's a whole other thing.
I back to the duh.
Yes.
I don't know if you got to your
more
original
duh.
point here, but did you have to ride the bicycle to the stage, or is that after your time?
No, we rode bikes there. I didn't do duh much. I did a little bit, and I was like, not for me. But by that time, I'd been hired at Universal Studios to do a show called the Special Effects Stages Show, which was much closer to home and much more fun.
What was that?
I remember
The
this
special
show.
effects
I might have
stages
seen you
show?
on that show.
It was around for years. It still exists, but they've moved it and changed it. It was a special effects sort of. We were a host of a special effects tour. You'd come through sound stages, and we take you through all the things of special effects. But then we'd get guests to come up. We do get
Does
bits
that
with
have
them.
the tornado or earthquake?
Yes.
Okay, we did that. I did that in Florida. My parents, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they have it there, but maybe.
I think this would have been
something
a
like
long
it,
time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
A variation.
It was a good gig. That was like my last gig in theme parks before I started writing television. Was working at SES.
So did you feel a big difference at Universal with how they handled you, how they, what they expected?
They
or
run
the
very
treatment?
differently. Universal, like Disney is, it's a little, I'm just going to say Disney has the quality, but not the venom of something like the Nazis. So they have the uniforms, the outfits, the organization, the
Efficiency.
discipline and efficiency. Where Universal, I'm not sure what a fair analogy, but they're definitely a ragtag group over there. God bless them.
Briers is looking at. We have a long-standing debate between us, Disney versus Universal. We're both Disney fans. But
Yes,
I defend Universal as well, and Briers just looks at me like I am
No,
a terrible
Universal's
person.
it's fine.
So you're validating her feelings.
I probably am probably validating.
Oh, yeah, that was
her.
a great,
Sorry.
But
great analogy.
But for an actor, I worked a lot at Universal. I actually worked more at Universal, I would say, even though I have a lot of Disney roles. I probably worked more at for Universal than Disney. It's probably just a little bit more, but I have. I mean, I wrote and directed for Universal in Florida. I did a lot of roles at Universal in Florida. And a lot of people work at Disney and Universal in Florida as an actor. So they're working at the same time at both places.
And they'll let you. There's not a
because you're contracted out. So you can you can sort of double dip as long as you meet your contract hours. Yeah.
I'm curious if there's anything you didn't get a chance to do while the theme parks, but you really wanted to do?
Theme parks. I think at Disney, I would have liked to have done worked at the MGM street performers. Were a really cool bunch of people.
In World.
Yeah,
with Hollywood Studios now.
Yeah.
It's a great park.
It is, and they had really great, like, that was a great company of improvising actors that included people like Peter and Paul Vogt. Paul Vogt is MadTV and Broadway, and a lot of other really amazing performers, and they were. I think that just the one of the coolest shows. Another thing I would have liked to have done is the Adventurers Club at the old Pleasure Island.
That is in a lot of people's heart. They were really sad to see it go. I know that. So
and some of the best performers I know, did that show.
Steve Martin worked there, didn't he?
I don't
know. He was at the Magic Shop on Main Street.
No, but he also did some things at Pleasure Island.
At Disney World?
Did he really?
Yeah.
I think that might have been well after his time.
Yeah,
I would imagine. I think
he was a Disneyland guy. I'm
Disneyland,
talked about remembering
maybe so. But I know, Philip Nolan, who is you won't know because he's one of those sort of amazing Disney performers who's never. I mean, Disney in Florida captured so many great people and kept them there because they provided a living wage for an actor where they could really live like a citizen. So if you got that great Disney gig, and at the time you're making $60,000-$70,000 a year in Orlando, in the 90s or in the 80s, you're really doing kind of great. You can own a house, your kids can go to nice schools, you live in a nice place, and your job is pretending to, be a stupid character every single day at the happiest place on earth. A lot of it captured some amazing performers who really probably may have come out here and we would know more about them, but they just chose that world to be in.
And maybe it's my dream world, but I imagine making those kids and families happy and doing what they're doing is a lot of fun.
Not everybody wants to kind of come to Hollywood, and I mean it's brutal out here, and when I moved out here when I was 31 years old, so I was an old man coming here. I went to Orlando to hang out with my girlfriend and stay a couple years, and stayed at 9 years. And
you built a lot of experience.
I did. I totally did. But but I think I was a person who always did want to come out here, and did want to get into television and writing and all of that stuff. And but you get they call it that golden handcuffs. You really the Disney handcuffs. You really get like it's a sweet gig, and you live in a nice place, and when you're not working, you can do like professional theater, and you can do television commercials and the occasional film that comes to town, and so you get a little bit of that going on too, and it
doesn't sound so bad.
It isn't so bad. It isn't, but you age out at Disney, unfortunately, because
actors age out.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot of roles for like a 52-year-old, princess. Well, you age out of that real quick, but yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, at a certain point, I think that's really where people hit a wall, and then you can only so many people can sort of move up into or have a desire to move into management or show directing or writing or whatever. But so that's that weird world of theme park acting.
So interesting.
Can I ask you? I want to ask you something about one of my favorite attractions that I know you had an association with.
Okay.
The Haunted Mansion.
Yes.
Tell me about your experience with the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, I love the Haunted Mansion. It's my favorite. This is not my favorite thing I ever did for Disney though. So I got a gig, a special event that happened during the Christmas time at Disneyland, and it was they had a sort of theming. They were trying to, have capitalize on the Nightmare Before Christmas thing because it's super popular, and there's so many annual pass holders who love the Nightmare Before Christmas. But I don't think Disney ever really knew what to do with all these sort of like black eyeliner, gothy kids from the Inland Empire who like dig, Nightmare Before Christmas and Morrissey, but they were like, but they keep coming here. We should do something. And so they had some Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. And they're like, Brian, you're going to go and you're going to sing Christmas carols, lead Q Line Entertainment, like lead these people in Christmas carols. Okay, that sounds all right. I can do that. And I have a loud voice and for serviceable singing voice. And they said, well, these are great. This is different. This is going to be Danny Elfman has written for us, these really cool, creepy, original Christmas carols based on regular Christmas carols, but all in minor keys. When I remember hearing them when we were doing rehearsals, it was like, I had trouble finding these pitches, and because there's all that creepy Danny Elfman stuff. And I'm like, I don't really know if people standing in line in their shorts are going to jump in on it. Plus, I did note to them, there's not really a lot of like, choruses here, which is what people know. They know Jingle Bells, but they don't know like the 9th verse of Jingle Bells. Like they know like Laughing Through the Snow, the chorus of Jingle Bells, and then you really want to be done. You want to move on. But these went on and on. And so they had the lyrics posted on signs in the queue line. But of course, if you were in the back of the queue line, you wouldn't know the unfamiliar Christmas carol I was singing in a minor key. You wouldn't even be able to see me. And I was outside of the mansion on a wireless mic in the same thing that the people in the mansion wear, but with like creepy zombie makeup on.
Were you by yourself? Or
there's another person that did it. We
Wow.
worked in sets, or maybe it was one person on a day. So yeah, totally solo.
I'm so sorry.
And you just walk around with this, and you were just trying to engage people in creepy. And it was just, and on top of it, they put us in this green room that was centered above the Pirates of the Caribbean area. Like there's tunnels under there, under Disney. So like there's these tunnels that connect this area to like the Blue Bayou restaurant. And so kids from who worked at the Blue Bayou restaurant could like walk through the tunnel and come up into our green room. And they would do this every single morning to use the toilet. Like for whatever their horrible offering was. Like they didn't want to do it down where they worked and have people sort of around. So this was like their secret toilet, except it was our toilet. And so like I'd be in there getting my makeup on, and there's just a parade of kids coming in having really difficult problems in the toilet. And I'm like, oh. And there was a mime. I don't know his name. There was a mime that worked, and he shared that green room. It was also with the Dixieland band and stuff. And this mime, and you can cut this right out if it's too terrible for your thing. He was a hostile mime. Like he's a classic angry mime.
I think all mimes are
he was
hostile.
He was not a Disney employee. He was an outside contractor, so he was allowed to have a mustache, which means that every day he would put clown white over his mustache, which is the most chilling thing you can see. There is nothing more horrible than looking at a grown man with a jet black mustache who's just covering it, smearing clown white on it. And as he's getting into his mime makeup, he's watching his kids come in, and he's just like, this is ridiculous. I mean, they don't respect us at all. They come in here and they use this toilet. He's mumbling to himself. And I'm like, yeah, it's not cool, man. And like, he's really getting mad. He's really, really mad. And I remember, I'll never forget this. One day a kid came in, the event happens, and he just loses his mind, this mime. He's half in makeup, half a clown white mustache, and he starts screaming at the top of his lungs, "You savage! You savage! How about a courtesy flush? How about a courtesy flush? Is that too much to ask? Give me a courtesy flush!" And I just remember thinking to myself, there's your Disney magic. This is what it is. This is what's going on.
This is what people should see.
Yeah,
This is what they should see. An angry mime complaining about a toilet situation.
You haven't lived until you've seen an angry mime.
It really haunts me to this day.
I think that leads us into a segment I want to involve you.
All right.
Because you have some good.
I'm happy.
Okay.
Happy to do it. Gather round the fire, children, for some Disney lore.
So here are with Disney lore.
Okay.
And what we're going to talk about here are crazy things employees or others have witnessed at the theme parks.
Oh, jeepers.
These are actual posts from Reddit,
Oh, okay.
and these cannot be confirmed, but
I'm excited.
it sounds like something that could have happened. So
okay.
Me too. I don't know any of them.
Briers doesn't know any
It's
of
new
this.
to me.
This is-
All right.
So
I'll do my best to confirm and or deny.
oh, okay.
I may not know. I haven't worked there in some time.
Oh, okay.
Some of these could be fresh.
So this one,
Mm-hmm.
try to do this. It's from Azov237
Okay.
on Reddit. I was working in the kitchen at Cinderella's castle when this family of 4 came in for the dinner. About halfway through the dinner, the husband politely stands up and taps his glass for attention. He announced that his wife of 15 years had been cheating on him for over a year. The entire place stood still in shock. He motioned for his kids, paid the waitress, and left the wife crying at the table.
No way.
I can totally believe that.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
seems pretty particularly
Yeah.
cool.
That
I know what
seems
the wife
super
did wasn't.
Specific. But that's how you do it.
That's where you announce it.
The
In
castle.
the castle.
Well, I'm just
Yeah.
curious what the kids think now, what memory they have
If they
of Walt
can go
Disney
back
World,
to Magic
right?
Kingdom.
I think that I bet they're not super fans of it. That's going to be my guess. I don't think they're like need to get down there. Need to get down there for the big electric
reunion.
parade. I don't think so. I think it's a bummer. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So,
And terrible, of course, tragic, but
this one's a little bit
Mhm.
simpler, maybe not quite as harsh.
All right.
Reddit overnight _CM _girl says, overnight cast member here. Please leave your cremated loved ones at home. Stop dumping them in the haunted mansion. They just get vacuumed up and disposed of.
No way.
Wow.
For her to say that, it sounds like it's happening like fairly often.
I read
And-
several things saying it happened.
And let me just ask you this. I all the time I worked at Disney, I never quite understood that level of commitment that that guests have to that brand and to Disney in general and what it means to them. You know, it's not like I just never in all that time I don't think I was ever in my heart a real Disney sort of employee. I think they knew it a little bit. You know, I think they just kind of knew that, like, I don't think he's not one of us. You know, because I just was like, why do you want to dump your ashes in this carnival ride? Why is that a place to? Why is that a magical spot for it?
I will say if they let me have the option of being buried in the lawn in front of the
You'd
Haunted
do
Mansion,
it?
I would consider it.
That's nice.
I would
To
consider
have
it.
a little
With
little
an
gravestone.
ironic
ironic
gravestone.
gravestone.
I mean, it
Your
will never
lies.
happen, but I would consider
I
it.
bet you that is a platinum Disney. You can get that done.
Like the
If you can get into Club 33,
yeah, it's
you
the
can
Club
get married.
33 perk.
Okay.
You can get married. Or married there or buried there.
My
Yeah,
challenge to
married.
you,
Married or buried.
Great.
my challenge to you is to find somebody who is actually buried in or around the Haunted Mansion.
Well, the best thing is the Disney crematorium where I worked for. No, that's
Oh.
amazing. Imagine.
I was like, oh yeah, really?
No,
Wow.
I
Tell
know.
us. I believe it
Yeah, I believe it too.
at this point.
Full cradle to grave Disneyites.
So here's another one. This is from Hostess Girl with a U
Hi, hostess girl.
_LV.
You
I don't
doing?
understand a lot of your
I
underscores,
love all
but I
these.
love you.
This is from Reddit. My roommate used to work in the giant Walt Disney World store right before the entrance to both Disneyland and California Adventure Park.
Mhm.
She came home so disgusted one night around Christmas time, I asked her what happened. Apparently, some little kid in the middle of the store decided to pull down his pants
Sure.
and then go to the bathroom in the middle of the store.
No courtesy flush for them either.
The worst part, his mom just hurried him away like nothing happened. My roommate saw the whole thing and had to call a Code Brown.
A Code Brown. That's true. A Code Brown.
Okay. I mean, I believe that. I
That's
work with
to-
kids, and
yes.
they'll do anything. My
Absolutely.
sister-in-law shoved a pen up Goofy or someone's butt and was kicked out of the park. The rest, like, went up. It was during cast member signing, and she was very little like precocious redhead, and just
Yeah.
had no
Had to be
reason,
a
had no
ginger.
anger. Yeah, had
That's
to
a
be.
code
I have to
ginger.
give you her. It's a code ginger.
We got a Code Ginger with a pen.
and she had to leave the park and stay at the hotel the rest of the day.
I got to think this happens a lot.
Oh,
at the park.
gosh.
Let me tell you, it
Kids.
does.
It's kids.
It's kids, and
And poor
you
parenting.
will. I've seen some unbelievable things. You have children, Rick.
Yes, yes.
And you know how they are. We've all had that emergency moment with my daughter's no longer small, so hopefully her bathroom habits at 22 are better than they used to be. But we had multiple Zoe emergencies when she was a little kid. And again, a theme park's a terrible place because there's not always a handy. Here, the thing about it is, though, Disney is so clean. You can't. That's another chilling thing. Only the Dutch are more clean or something. I don't.
No gum.
No, there's not. How is that possible?
Lamp posts glisten.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Let me ask you: would you guys, what would you do if your son or daughter did that? I mean, understand you don't have a pooper scooper right there, but
apologize profusely to everyone in the area. I think it sounds like
you were, when you were hired at Disney, you go through something. You go through an orientation, and what did they used to call it? They had a name for it. Oh, traditions.
I love all these inside names that they have.
And I don't know if they have traditions. I know when we did traditions in the 90s, it was like a week. So it was a long process. I remember it being a week, maybe it was less, but it was like multiple days. Now, when I came out here, they did traditions in a day. Well, only one day, and it was a sort of that is an amazing story too, to be quite honest with you. But they were like drill into your head, like it doesn't matter who you are, if you're the president of the company, or you're an actor, or a riding show, or whatever. It's all of our job to keep Disney clean. So if you see trash, you would pick trash up. I would do it all the time.
But that's
robotic.
what makes,
because you're sort of
16 steps to a trash can, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you're like
always within.
It makes a difference, though.
It
stinks for the cast members, but it's great for.
And for 60 years, they've kept it.
So
clean.
If there's a poo-poo on the ground at Disney, it's not there long. I'll tell you that right now.
Unlike some other parks, I think.
No.
All right, so let's see. I have so many of these. We'll have to do this another time. I want to do one more.
All right.
I don't know which to choose from here. They're all right. Let's do this one. Let's get away from the body.
It's getting a little scatological in here.
This is from Nova Prime 15 on Reddit.
Fantastic.
The worst story I heard involved a couple at Soarin' over California.
All right.
When you're at Soarin', if your backpack doesn't fit underneath the seat, it needs to be put on the main walking area. You're far off the ground, and you don't want your backpack to fall that far. One couple left their backpack on the ground, and a cast member noticed it moving. They go over to investigate, only to find that the backpack had, no, not a rat or a dog, a baby in it. They were promptly escorted out.
No.
I don't know. I'm gonna call BS on this one. I
think there's some people that
will put their baby in a backpack.
Yeah, people are crazy. I don't know how they would get it through because they're pretty tight with their check security on the backpack.
Yeah, well, maybe they didn't sneak the baby in. Maybe it was we
want to
ride. We want to ride Soarin'.
He's not 40 inches,
and our meth is just kicking in. So let's stuff Junior in our JanSport and take a ride over the beauty of California.
I will say that the baby in a bag is the story that I read the most. Let me just quickly
baby
one
in
more.
A bag.
Broken long thumb key on Reddit said this couple was trying to ride Space Mountain and had a black duffel bag. My brother heard something come from the bag, so he asked them to open it. They refused. Security comes, forces them to open it. It was their 6-month-old baby.
No. See, now it's starting to sound apocryphal. There's too many. You're saying also at Space Mountain? I guess they did it on Splash Mountain. All the various mountains. Big Thunder Mountain. All the mountain rides.
Yeah.
We can't assume that everybody has a relative same sense of common sense that we do.
No.
So I can believe that this sometime has happened.
You definitely see bad, like on the day in and day out at theme parks, how people are with their children is absolutely fascinating. Mm-hmm. And you do have an opportunity to see some fairly terrible parenting.
Well, just being in the theme parks for upwards of 12 hours, people show their true colors.
Unbelievable.
They really do.
I've never yelled at my kids
8
in the
p.m.,
theme
9
park.
p.m.
Wink. It's hard.
having a
It's very
dinner.
hard. I've never tried to take my kids in a bag onto Space Mountain. I've never allowed them to poop on the
Phew.
floor and walked away.
Thought about it.
But I've done some things that I'm probably wouldn't be as proud of in everyday life.
I
in
see.
The theme park.
Well,
Just
there,
saying.
but for
It's a long day.
a black duffel bag, go we.
That's right. So let's go on. Let's go on to your Hollywood career here.
All right, Hollyweird.
Hollyweird. I want to first and foremost know about Uncle Buck on ABC.
Right.
That's what's
Me
really
too.
going on with you right now. It's a
That
big
is.
thing, so.
It's super going on with me right now. So I have a writing partner named Stephen Cragg. We met on MadTV, and we started writing together after Mad. He had left Mad, and then it was like the last season of Mad. We had written a pilot together, and so we'd begun doing a ton of pilots over the last several years, and we left ABC Studios, where I was for a while, and we came to Universal, and one of the things they asked us to sort of get involved with was, Will Packer Productions, who does Will Packer, if you don't know, does he's a Hollywood mogul now. He's all of these like Ride Along and Best Man's Holiday and Stomp the Yard, going way back. Anything to do with Kevin Hart. But he's also in television now. He just got into television with Uncle Buck, and he has another show at Universal TV and on NBC called People Are Talking, and they're producing The New Roots, and so he's just exploding producer. And Will had somehow sweet talked Universal, who owned the rights to the Uncle Buck title and story and all the rest, who had never wanted to release it. People have been coming after it for years, but he somehow talked them into releasing it to him. He and his partner, she works for him. She runs his TV department, Corinne Huggins. And so they had read our scripts, and they came to Stephen and I, who were also under deal at Universal, and were like, it'd be a happy marriage if you guys want to do this. And we said, yeah. And they're like, well, what do you think of reimagining it with a black family, with a black Uncle Buck? And we were like, yeah, that sounds like a fresh way to do it. If you're going to, there's a lot of reboots last year. Not all of them made it. But I think in some ways ours, aside from being really a funny thing, it just had a freshness to it. So Mike Epps is starring, and Nia Long, also kind of co-starring with James LaSure as her husband. And, the Macaulay Culkin role, we have a little Miles, played by this young man named Saeed, who is hilarious. His sister's on Blackish.
Okay.
And adorable little girl playing Maisie, his little sister, Alira Caldwell. And then Tia, the angry daughter in Uncle Buck, is this wonderful girl from Atlanta. Her name just jumped out of my head. That's terrible. All right, you have to edit this.
You're so great at knowing all the names.
Well, I should know the names of the people in my cast. My God,
She's going to get a very nice gift.
Iman. Oh my God, Iman Benson. Right. What's wrong with me? She's amazing. Sorry, Iman. Your name jumped out of my head. It's not because you're not amazing.
He'll write a very special episode for you.
I certainly will. And yeah, so we got to do this pilot and sort of reimagine Uncle Buck as a TV show. And
so you've shot the pilot?
Pilot was shot. We got picked up for a short order. So it's like an 8-episode sort of mid-season order. And yeah, we're just kind of ramping up now.
I want to know the pressure.
For ABC, by the way.
For ABC, yes. Owned by Disney. I want to know if you're feeling any pressure. I mean, John Hughes, Uncle Buck. That's a big pedigree you're working with here. So.
Well, there's no question. I mean,
John Candy,
all of it. Yeah, I mean, of course, there's some pressure about it, and we've had a little bit of, we've had some negative feedback, but I've been down this road before. I produced a pilot for ABC a few years ago called Only Fools and Horses, which is
John Leguizamo and
with John Leguizamo. It was a British show, but it's like in England, Only Fools and Horses is like Seinfeld level of important in terms of their culture, and it's a very important show. We got like death threats, when they, from people. So this wasn't nearly that bad, but we had a little bit of blowback from it, and so you do feel that pressure. But it's totally, this whole thing is an homage to John Hughes. I'm a humongous fan. As everyone my generation is, I'm a super sweet spot for John Hughes movies. Being a sort of a Generation Xer, coming up in the 80s. Everything from Breakfast Club to Ferris Bueller's to like Pretty in Pink to, the Home Alones, even Uncle Buck. All of them are like the movies that are my generation's teen movies. So I feel very excited, and I was thrilled about being associated with it. And I think we're gonna I think when they see our show, those doubters won't doubt anymore. I mean, that's what's been proven so far. Right. People that have seen it have been like, it really is an homage to it. At the same time, updating it, and at the same time, when you change, as a magical thing happens when you say, wow, oh my God, they put a black family in it. So they're race switching. We've heard this word. And what's hilarious about it is that I don't think people think of the race of it at all. It's really not a self-consciously racial show or political show. It's a family show. And, families are families.
Right.
So
it's a family who happens to be black.
Yeah,
that's
this is a full-on family show,
right.
And your kids can watch the show, and that's the goal. It's but it's fun and it's adult, and it has it in its way, because Uncle Buck is kind of a shady, awesome character, and so I think there's a lot of fun for everybody there. But the kids are prominent in it, and they're right up front, including Iman Benson from Atlanta, Georgia. Iman Benson being introduced on ABC mid-season.
Well, I have a question for anyone listening who's interested in becoming a writer or producer. What would be your biggest piece of advice to them?
I think, I don't know if I have any special advice really, except I went to University of Florida, and I had an opportunity to go back and speak with. I was asked to speak to the graduate students at the theater department some years ago. And this kind of was part of that, like there I had them all gathered in the Constance Theater, which is, where I had been many years before. And they asked me, I knew they were going to ask those questions. And I'll tell you what I told them, which is that, I'm happy to tell you how I did it, how I got from point A to point B, but that I swear to God, if you try to follow in my footsteps, I'll come and find you and punch you right in the face, because everybody gets there in their own way. Mm-hmm. So my advice is to be less focused on that career thing, mm-hmm. and more focused on the work. Work all the time. I come from a Midwestern family, and, I swear, I think sometimes it was drilled into my head. I've been working since I was, 13 years old at the Publix bakery in, Lantana, Florida. And, I work all the time. And I think that's what a writer needs to do. Writer needs to do a lot less talking and a lot more writing. Yeah. And fail. The other thing I tell them is like, be ready to fail. Like mm-hmm. fail. I don't know who said this, but it's, fail better, fail again, mm-hmm. like keep failure is so key to your success. Mm-hmm. And not just the failures, but of course your analysis of those failures and like your ability to kind of improve over time. Mm-hmm. So writing is really just like that. It's just like super hard work. Practically, I would say, write your original half-hour spec pilot or mm-hmm. or hour-long pilot. Do an original, and show it to people. Have them hate it. Mm-hmm. Go back and make it better. And when it's as good as you know how to make it at that moment in your life, then you start showing it to people. You know, that's what I would say too. Is don't show your work around too soon until you're really, you know, until it's as good as you know how to be right now. You know, yeah.
I want to remind everybody, if you have any questions or comments, you can tweet us at the Disney Click. I want to ask you about one more thing, and then we have another a list you can participate with us. I want to know about the Fellowship. Oh, Fellowship.
Yes. Yeah. Fellowship, the musical parody of the Fellowship of the Ring. It was a big part of my life for about a decade. So Fellowship is just that. It's a comedy parody of the first Fellowship movie. There's 9 cast members. We all play multiple roles. I played both Gandalf and Galadriel, the queen of the elves, as well as...
You are a spitting image.
Thank you. No, there's no question. I was beautiful, very beautiful, like Galadriel, Kate Blanchett level beautiful, and I played orcs, and everybody plays lots of different roles. It's it's a combination. The cast was created through improvisation, a lot of it, and the cast is actually a lot of former Disney actors. Lisa Fredrickson. We know from the Comedy Warehouse, Ryan Smith from the Comedy Warehouse, Joel McCrary, who was one of the original SAC members, Kelly Holden, who's a Disney legend, Peter Vogt, who is an enormous Disney legend, as well as Edie Patterson O'Connor, who's a groundling and improv theater, myself, Steve Pernick, another Disney guy, current Disney employee. He moved back to Orlando. Matt Young too, another genius improviser. So it was just this really fun thing that I thought I was going to do 6 weeks of, and then it just kept going and going and going, and all those Lord of the Rings fans showed up again and again and again, and we performed it at Comic-Con. We performed it multiple times here in Los Angeles. We performed it in New York City, and then I think they did it. I've since left the show as an actor performer, but it's now being performed around the country at different places. And
you don't have time to do it anymore.
No, sadly, I did though. I tell you, when I the last big run I did. Trying to think where it was. Well, that was the New York run. But the last in-town run that I did was at Gary Marshall's theater in Toluca Lake, the Falcon Theater. And it was really my favorite run of it. And we could have run forever. They had something else after us and we had to leave. We held over forever. But that I was doing pilots and stuff by then. I had left Mad and was writing pilots and stuff. And my wife said to me at the end of that run, because I was just writing so much all day long and then running to rehearsals and running to shows, and weekends were all taken up and we only had Mondays down. And, she said to me, she really did say, never again. You need to choose, because I have to have a part of you too. And then I said, you're totally right. And then when they wanted to go to New York, I told her that I was going to do that too. And so then I went to New York for a few weeks to do the show, and she hated that too. No, she was a big supporter of the show. She actually was a massive supporter of the show, worked with the show, was a house manager for us and stuff, but it got to be a lot.
I have to point out that Brian just got done shooting 2 pilots, one of which was Uncle Buck, the other one was The Way We Live, correct?
How We Live.
Yes. And he was telling me off the podcast that he lived in this world where he did not see home at all. So when he talks about...
No, in fact, I've moved. In fact, we bought a house. So we bought a house during that period of time too, which was super smart. So we're going through the whole escrow, everything of buying a house, right? And then on our first time that we've ever owned a house, we've always rented, we just never grow up like Pinocchio, and Lady Pinocchio. Remember Lady Pinocchio? Doesn't exist, but that's my wife. And
she's Pinocchio or Lady Pinocchio?
She's Lady Pinocchio.
Okay.
I'm Man Pinocchio. Get it right, Rick. But so we decided to buy this house at the same time, and we knew it was dumb, but we did it anyway. And I had a moment where I woke up in one home in Culver City, and then came home, and all of my stuff was at our new house, and I went to bed, and I could do nothing. Like I couldn't even help unpack a box. I just had to get up and go back to the shows.
Sounds like you planned it pretty well to me.
It was a real tricky period in the Bradley Kearns home.
You're still married, correct?
We are still married, happy as clams. We made a deal that like I think we just because she's been in showbiz her whole life too, and I think we got to a point where we're not like just leave stuff in boxes. We're just gonna we're not doing this now. Our stuff is here. Our dog and our cat are here. Our daughter is at her apartment in Huntington Beach. We have our health. We can move in some other time.
For Audrey dealing with you and all of this, I'm going to give a plug to her Geek Your Authority website, and Neil to Odd.
Neil Before
Odd podcast.
Yes.
She I know Audrey, and she is awesome. Yes. And you're darn lucky to have her.
Believe me, I know. Yeah, I know for many reasons.
So
I love you, Audrey.
So we're going to do one more segment if you'll participate with us, and this is the Disney list.
And now the Disney list.
Okay, so this week we're doing our top 5 Disney list, and it has a special name. It's a wish list this year, or this week, and it's going to be our top 5 wishes if we were worked in a park or were a cast member, an experience we could have that you can't have as just an annual pass holder or someone going for the day.
Right.
And as usual, we'll be starting with, the bottom, working our way up to the number 1 wish this year. This week.
I like it.
So you take it off first?
Go first? Okay.
Yeah, go for it, Rick.
My number 5 is to explore the tunnels underneath Disney World. They're mythical, and
You've been.
Oh yes.
Well, what are they as crazy as I think, or are they just tunnels?
Do you know what? It's pretty. First of all, it's pretty cool that they have tunnels. That even I'm just gonna say it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
But they smell like garbage a little bit.
Because that's where they take the garbage. That's where the garbage
goes. It doesn't just go and become, pixie dust. It goes into giant bins underground.
I'm a little disappointed.
But they have little carts that drive around,
Little golf cart.
It's vaguely like a Bond villain's sort of lair. Just a little bit.
Or the Austin Powers scene in the golf cart, right?
There's a tiny bit of that Austin Powers in it.
Are there any murals on the wall or any paintings or people? I imagine people signing. The college I went to was built over tunnels.
Oh, really?
And people would sneak in. It was against the rules to go in and sign their name.
No, definitely not.
Is there a food court under there?
Yeah, there's restaurant. There's like a employee. Yes, there's like employee cafeteria down there.
Good food?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It holds up.
Yeah, it holds up.
Okay,
not too shabs. Yeah, I don't know that I would. I think it's pretty cool, but it's it's a place where people are working.
Yeah, it's not like Happy Funville or anything.
No, it's not. No, it's nothing magical going on down there. I'll tell you that much.
They save that for the street level.
That's up top.
I understand.
That's up top.
All right, have that at hand, Briers.
Okay, my number 5 would be to be in a parade on a float, preferably. Preferably as a face.
Oh, as a face
with my
character?
Face scene, so I can see the reactions. I
can see you as a Disney
children.
princess. I absolutely could see you.
I get told a lot I should go apply for work, but I think it would ruin the magic for me.
No, I think the Disney princesses experience is pretty
different.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I would enjoy that interaction. Getting to. You have to stay in character.
They are kind of the Playboy bunnies of Disneyland. they're completely asexual. There's not one sexual thing about them. So in that way, they are not like Playboy bunnies, but they are kind of like the precious gals, and they're all very beautiful, and none of them can have their real hair.
Right.
So that's always
so you can
weird.
play.
You can play anybody.
Play any.
It's all wigs.
Hair color.
Because you look like they really want you to look like the character. I think that might be a pretty good gig. I think the princesses I know. I have a friend who's married to a former princess, and I think she thinks very fondly of her time in that role. I think it'd be good, and I think a parade. I never got to be in a parade.
Oh,
Because it's kind of a dancer thing, or character thing.
You're pretty immobile. If you're a princess, you kind of are just on the float. You have a foot to work with.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
The closest thing we ever came to was the holidays around the world. Sort of parade where we would walk out. All of the there's like Father Christmas, Père Noel from France. Canadian Santa Claus, who I guess has plaid on for some reason. No. And then in Morocco, they had the Three Kings. So it got vaguely biblical. And I also play one of those. And what else do they have? They had, what's the woman from Italy? I forget. She's like a Christmas witch. I forget what her name is. Yeah. Yes.
I need to go back
Switch.
Do they still have the parade?
I believe they have holidays around the world to this day.
But maybe they've made it a little more.
No, I think it's like they have we would come out and sing at the end of the night. So all day long we did our gig, and then at the end of the night there was a huge event that was fireworks and all that stuff around the lagoon.
Globe coming up.
The globe and all that stuff, and then Spaceship Earth and All Christmassy, and then we were sort of a part of the festivities at the end.
I love it. I love it.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to number. What are we at? Number 4.
Number 4.
I'd like to eat caramel apples every day. I go there. I love the caramel apples.
Just like
there.
Totally.
So I'm there.
Do you get a discount?
I don't know if I get a discount or not.
You
do. Okay. I do. Really.
You do on the. Yes, you would because of that. I don't remember I think you get 35% discount.
It's pretty good.
I think.
It's pretty good.
I don't know if I'm revealing anything, but that's.
It's more than the top annual pass.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good discount for an employee. It actually is.
There's so much merchandise and food.
When it's all jacked up so high, that it sort of brings it down to a vaguely normal price. Yeah.
Like a Whole Foods price.
Yes, your $10 hot dog, gets down into what's sort of a close Pink's range,
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, my number 4, and I'm not positive it still exists, so you might have to help me, but would be to play basketball inside Matterhorn. But is the court still there? I've heard both. I've heard that it is and it isn't.
Something I know about. You are informing me of a new thing.
Stump Brian.
Yeah.
Briers, I almost put that on my list.
I don't know.
It's so fun. I mean,
so
there's
a basketball court
inside Matterhorn. I mean, it was definitely there at one point. I think there's rumors that it might still be there, but you can't play on it for safety reasons.
I read a story, if I'm recalling this correctly, that some sort of regulations in Anaheim says that if you have a structure, a certain height,
that's why
you have to make it a sports or something has to be there.
They had to ID the building
something
as something, and they said we'll make it a sports complex.
That sounds right. By the way, that is a full Walt move.
Yeah,
because my old offices
get around the yellow tape
at Disney Studios in Burbank were in what's called the old animation building, which is where the Disney animators were. And on day 1 that they took us into the building, the nice lady who runs the building was showing us around and giving us a little bit of a tour. And she said, by the way, full tunnels going out of the parking garage. But she said, Walt originally built this as a hospital. And you're like, a hospital? Why? Well, during World War II, they wanted to build this building, but, everything was rationed. All building materials were being, directed to the war effort unless you were building a hospital or something. So he built it like a hospital, though it never was used as a hospital. So it's just one of these sort of vaguely sketchy Disney things where he built, and by the way, it really looks like a 19 Art Deco. There's wings coming off of it. Which is tremendous offices actually, but I think that sounds right. That's how Walt made things happen. That's that Disney magic.
It's magic.
Number 3, you touched on this a little bit earlier. I'd like to see the rivalry between characters backstage. I just always heard about this levels of, I'm better than you. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, for real, that exists. I mean, of course.
That's every work environment.
Every work environment. And every entertainment environment.
Right.
Right.
Actors.
Right. Yeah. Like, you got to be heights, right? So your Mickey height, your Goofy height, your Tigger height, and there are sort of marquee ones, I definitely think Mickey is a marquee role because, if you're a Mickey and you're trained in Mickey, not only are you super popular in the park, but if there's events or press events and things like that, they're going to call on you for those events, which is not just status-y thing, but it's just flat out extra money. So, there are definitely higher status roles. And certainly within the princesses, I would imagine,
Cinderella.
You want to be Cinderella
Belle's
versus
not bad.
So it's interesting. So it's not only between the princesses and the face the big rubber. There's also within the
which characters are popular.
Okay.
You want to there's nothing worse than being out there and no one wants to see it thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think that's true.
Okay.
I would say that's an accurate thing, and I would say, I don't know who. I'm going to tell you one little thing about Tigger. I have a Tigger story really quickly. It's my favorite. Tigger is also a very...
That's who it was. I'm remembering now. They got jammed with the pin.
Tigger.
It was Tigger.
Tigger is the guys who play Tigger and women who have played Tigger, but I think it's mostly gentlemen because it's a fairly tall character. Though I think there's some women that play it. I could be totally wrong, and there you go. But anyway, they're it's an animated role, and that's what they talk about, by the way, in characters. So what they talk about is animation. You want to animate. So when you're talking, you're doing that whole you can't see me, but you're doing this. You're talking with your hands and you're shaking your head and you're sort of moving around and animating what is essentially a dead-eyed, lifeless thing. Yeah, you really try, because if it just sits there and suddenly stares at you,
it's creepy.
Unblinkingly, kids are going to start crying. So it needs to kind of move around in a friendly way. And Tigger, of course, is known for bouncing around. And in Florida, they have, in all theme parks, they have what they'll call heat sets. So a normal set might be 30 minutes or something. I don't know what they are. Don't quote me on that. But they're in that range. Well, during a heat, maybe they're 20-minute sets. And the heat set will be 10. So if it's above 90 degrees, health and safety, they do heat sets. They come out for 10 minutes and then they scoop backstage and get them out of there. Because they have ice packs and stuff underneath there. And they're really, it's a tough job. And this Tigger was really going for it. He's a young teenage guy, super stoked to be there. And they were always like, you need to take it easy because it's very warm and we just love your enthusiasm. And that's absolutely what we want out of our Tigger. It's fabulous.
We don't want to dead it,
but we don't want to
demo.
Okay.
So during when I was doing World Showcase Players, one thing we had to do was go before the show, walk up. We had to come from our green room, which was above the little British China shop over in England. It was actually kind of cool. You'd walk down, but you had to quickly walk across set, which is what we call on stage, and go backstage on the other side, and then you'd collect our little cart, and we'd turn off what's called BGM. BGM stands for background music. And at that point, in those days, there was a little key that your show leader had, and they would turn the BGM off so that we could go do our show. And then we would drag our cart around the long way and come in and get our crowd. So we're going back there, and in that area was also the character break room. And they're all kids mostly. They're younger, and it's a little more like a bunch of kids we're all a little more adult, tiny bit more adult. And so I come back and we shut the BGM off, and I go in to use the restroom, which is right there, backstage restroom, and I open it up, and they're partially dressed in his Tigger uniform is this man. His head off to the side. He's lying in a urinal, his head in a urinal, completely passed out. He had suffered a heat stroke.
Oh, no.
Which is fairly serious. And so I walk up into the character break room, and I'm like, and they're having a kind of a roughhousing fight. Like they're all goofing around in there and being silly. And I'm like, I just want to give everyone a heads up that Tigger's laying in a urinal. I don't know if that's where you want Tigger to be. It doesn't seem like it to me. Maybe someone wants to do it. So quickly their lead runs down, and I hear, I'll never forget it, is she has her little radio, and she's going, Tigger's down, Tigger's down, Tigger is down, Tigger's down. And they had to take that guy away at an ambulance, actually.
He was okay, I assume?
He's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can laugh about it now.
Yeah, no, he didn't suffer any permanent problems.
Okay.
He just stopped sweating. Like that's when you have like heat stroke. Like you just stop. That's not good.
Dedication to the craft.
Dedication.
You wanted the kids
but
to...
If this is the end of it, I just, whatever silly stories I've told, I really do owe everything to Disney and the theme parks in general. You know, I really do. So all silliness aside, I just wanted to say that I love working there very, very much, and that it changed my life and gave me a career, really. And a lot that I know about entertainment, and about storytelling, and about the audience, and caring about the audience, and giving them a way into the story, and all of that I really learned at Disney, because it's in every detail of what they do. And, you know, good, bad, or indifferent, I have to say there's no one better. There really
Just
isn't.
pull a quote from that. Changed my life.
It's true. It's true.
It's a great place.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll finish this Disney list up real quick.
Yeah. So my number 3 wish would be to go to a cast member only park event, which I've heard they have, where the park is only open to cast members. You can kind of just roam around quickly and get on rides, and it would be a different experience.
You'll have ride and show people who are working the event.
At those
the cast members that don't get to participate, or you switch off.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're
make it work.
Okay.
It's magic.
Make it work.
That's nice.
And because I think they can bring, cast members can bring their kids and stuff, so there'll be characters, people working the event. It'll probably be a special event. Special events are always
sign
great.
Up for...
Well, you'll be hopefully scheduled to do it, which is you know, because it's extra. You make extra money.
Right.
So it's a good deal.
So number 2 was something that Briar said earlier, be a featured character on a parade float was something that I thought would be really just kind of cool to...
It would.
I know how it is for me and my kids to look up at those characters up on the float, like lording over you, and it's a big deal. It'd be kind of a nice feeling to see all the smiles and the kids' wide eyes, and that's just kind of a neat feeling,
huge.
I think.
I share that.
When you're little, you believe it so much that they're so real.
Right.
And it's all done so well.
Yeah, really. They do parades.
They do parades like nobody else.
So
absolutely.
A topic for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your number 2, Briar?
My number 2 is kind of cheesy, but to get to pass on the magic to a child or a family. But I was just at the park a week or so ago and started talking to this cast member because I'd lost my sunglasses. And he just out of the blue was like, we really do work magic here. And he had he kind of, drank the Kool-Aid, but I didn't even bring it up. He was just like, this place, we really do. It's magic. We pass on magic. So I think it'd be neat to kind of, get to see firsthand you do something for someone, and you have probably seen it.
I many, many times, and had that experience many, many times. The greatest thing to do at either park is to get an opportunity to do anything with Give Kids the World or Make a Wish, who they absolutely work very closely with, and you have an opportunity in your job, which is pretty rare, to be a part of that experience for somebody. It's amazing. That it's not all magical, but it's there's a lot.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, my number 1 is to perform random acts of kindness. So clearly, I'm a more giving, generous person than Briar's here, because it was number 1.
Yeah, my number 1's selfish.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, but nice, great minds think alike. Mine just a little better in this case. So.
Well, my number 1 is to be a Disney princess, which I know we had talked about. And I'm as skeptical, or I'm scared that it would ruin the magic. I think it would be really fun to embody, because the princess is, it's whose castle do we?
It's a pretty good gig.
Yeah.
It's a pretty. Well, they are there. It's a pretty good gig.
And kids believe they're talking to the princess. Like the animation has just come to life in front of them, and everything you say is the word.
It's
That's
true.
what I would say.
Yeah.
I wish I had a sarcastic thing to say about it. But
No, well, we can end on that.
I don't.
Nice note. Brian, I really want to thank you for being here.
It's
it
my
was
pleasure.
Thank you
awesome
so much.
to have you here.
yeah, I enjoyed very much being here and getting to talk about it.
And we'll look for Uncle Buck.
Look for Uncle
Yes.
Buck on ABC mid-season, and hopefully it'll be fantastic. We're certainly planning it that way. So really looking forward
exciting.
to it.
And one of these days, I'd like to have not only you back, but I'd also like your wife Audrey.
Please.
I think that would be a lot of
Yes.
fun.
I'm trying to think if Audrey ever worked for Disney or if it was just Universal. But you should have her back because she's got some pretty swell stories about theme park life.
So I'd like to remind everybody to Twitter us at tweet us.
Twitter us.
We're
Okay,
new.
great.
We're new to Twitter.
All right.
Us at
All right,
Disney
old timer.
Click.
You
And-
can
Or
Twitter
follow
me.
us.
You can Friendster me.
Dating myself.
Follow
a
us on
little bit.
Instagram at the Disney Click.
Instagram.
Insta us.
Like
Gram
that,
us.
like that Geico ad. You're unfriended. You're unfriended, says the old lady.
I know.
We had a great time, Brian. Thanks again.
Thank
Thanks so
you
much,
very much.
guys. All right. Talk to you later.
The Disney Click is a Meltdown Presents production. Produced by Terri Lubaroff and Mason Booker. Audio engineer, the miracle worker, Mason Booker. With your hosts, Rick Lubaroff and Briers Newman. Our theme song, King of the Swingers, is performed by the Swing Ninjas and provided by freemusicarchive.org. Jazzy Frenchie is our break music and can be found on bensound.com. End credit music Dill Pickles is performed by the Heftone Banjo Orchestra and provided by freemusicarchive.org. Don't forget to tweet us at The Disney Click. You can also follow us on Instagram at The Disney Click.